Okay. So, one thing that really stuck out to me about what my opponent Anthony said was that he tried to refutate me on the Ms. Chaney case, where he talked about how Ms. Chaney's original physician did not give her the drugs to do physician-assisted suicide because he believed that her daughter was trying to coerce her. And then he later claimed that she eventually got another physician to give her the drugs and that it was her choice to kill herself. If the evidence was already there that her daughter was trying to get her to kill herself, was trying to convince her to kill herself, then how is Ms. Chaney eventually taking the drugs actually her choice? Another thing that he forgot to mention is that once the drugs are given to you, there's no one official, there's no one there's no one set up with a specific badge, or even the doctor doesn't have to be present when you take it. So there's no way of really knowing whether you shoved those pills down your throat or her daughter who wanted to kill her shoved those pills down her throat, because no one has to be there. And then if he also, as my partner said, he claimed they failed to offer a system that we're going to follow. They brought up the Death with Dignity Act, so that if we follow it completely, I found a quote on Disability Rights Education and Defense Fund that said, "The state has no resources nor even authority to investigate violations. All the abuses, such as Michael Freeland and Kate Chaney, are discovered by the media, not an oversight body whose job it should be, and they are not investigated. Not only is abuse not investigated, there's no way to report it. Thus, it's not what the Oregon data shows, it's what it fails to show. The data shows no abuse because the system isn't set up to find it." And along with the system, they, in the beginning, claim that terminally ill patients should be giving it, but they give no certain criteria. As our beloved teacher said in a previous class period, we're all terminally ill. So he fails to give a set regulation of how terminally ill you have to be, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. He just says terminally ill. And he also claims that people suffering from depression often commit suicide, so physician-assisted suicide will help them kill themselves in a kind of better way. However, that's not the role of physician-assisted suicide. You can't begin your claim as saying terminally ill patients and then say people with depression can get it, because people with depression are not terminally ill. They have mental problems. Even on the Death with Dignity Act, it says if either physician believes a patient's judgment is impaired by a psychiatric or psychological disorder such as depression, the patient is referred for a psychological examination so that they can prove that it's not because of their depression. So him saying that depressed people will find a better way to kill themselves just goes against his main argument. Okay, another thing touching on depression, it says that the Oregon statistics show that in recent years, only 2% of patients are being referred for psychological evaluations. Over all the years, only 6% have been referred. Moreover, doctors are often unable to diagnose depression, and on rare occasions, psychiatric assessments happen. They are usually pro forma, because a doctor who thinks her patient should receive lethal drugs can shop for a psychologist or physician who will make a finding consistent with that view. So as I was saying earlier, if your physician says that you're depressed and you can't get it, you can just call a hotline where they'll lead you to a number of physicians who are caught up in 75 to 90% of physician-assisted suicides, and they'll probably give you the go-ahead. So there's really no regulations or safeguards to physician-assisted suicide.